kind of always, I think, making a case for why pop culture matters. People who read the newsletter are like customers, and I am fulfilling my contract with them. That's honestly kind of true of Hung Up today. That like being very serious about stuff that's like pretty shallow and kind of stupid, and being very stupid about stuff that honestly maybe I should be more serious about. I'm a star student, star employee, but a terrible boss.
What is the thing that you would make creatively?
Oh, a movie. Absolutely. And I have the idea for it too. It's a romantic comedy. Should I get a cocktail?
Yes, we should get a cocktail.
Okay. Can I get a tequila gimlet?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll have the same. Thank you. I am here with Hunter Harris. We're at the Nighthawk Theater. So why the Nighthawk?
It's one of my favorite movie theaters in New York. To this Nighthawk I come quite often. I used to live in Williamsburg, where there's another one, and I would go there probably once a week. My favorite Nighthawk story is that one time it was like an Oppenheimer like award season re-release, and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm so excited. I like stayed up late, bought tickets, whatever. I was with my ex at the time, and he was like, I bet it's gonna be like a bunch of sickos at this theater, like people who like want to see Oppenheimer again. It was literally only us. We were the only two people in the entire theater.
You were the sickos.
Yeah, no, the sicko was me. But no, I love Nighthawk. I do wish that they would bring back the regular burger, not the smash burger. I don't care for smash burger. Agenda has gone out of control, but otherwise, I love it here.
All right, so we're going to talk today a little bit about your journey and who you are as a media founder. So I want to start at the very beginning. You grew up in Tulsa.
Yes.
You write about pop culture.
Yes.
Is there a moment where you can, when you look back, when you can sort of think about sparking your interest in pop culture? What was pop culture like in Tulsa when you were growing up?
I grew up around people who really loved movies and really liked watching movies. I would watch a lot of like melodramas with my aunt, and like every Black family, we like sat down and watched Roots together. My dad really loved like James Bond movies, like kind of capers, crime dramas. Like we would watch a lot of those together. My mom, like every mother, loved the 2005 Pride and Prejudice with Keira Knightley.
Yes.
And so I would always like kind of talk about, that stuff with them. And then I don't know, I guess I always loved watching movies. I was always very opinionated about movies. I remember one time the local film critic for the Tulsa World,
Oh, beautiful.
oh, this is lovely. Thank you.
Western and gimlets.
Yes, yeah.
Enjoy.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Cheers. Tell me
Cheers.
quickly why a tequila gimlet. That's
It's
good.
just like, it's like a skinny margarita. And my like meanest friend always gets this. And I was like, you were actually onto something with that one. Like, this is a perfect drink.
It is a perfect drink.
But yeah, so the film critic for the Tulsa World like panned this movie, The Other Boleyn Girl, with Natalie Portman and Scarlett Johansson. And I wrote a letter, like, I love this movie. I think it's great. It's honestly, it's whatever, it's fine. But that was the first time that I can really think about me being like, the little like nub of who I am today.
How
coming
old
out.
were you when you wrote that letter?
12 or 13. I'm trying to think of when that movie came out, but yeah, around then.
Yeah, immediately a film critic, right away. But then you went to Emerson,
Yeah.
and you've said that you thought when you went to Emerson that you would be a serious journalist, that
Yeah.
you would be a Watergate reporter. When did you realize that you were more interested in going in a pop culture direction, and that maybe that was just as valid and important as being a serious reporter?
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, when I said serious reporter, I literally meant like I should be breaking Watergate, and I'm 17 years old, like I'm 19 years old. But so I did the school paper, and I was the opinion editor for like most of college, and I just turned the opinion page into like my opinions. I mean, a lot of them were about like school stuff, but I always my friend and I did a back and forth about like Kanye, about paying like college athletes. Like I would love to just sort of bring cultural topics into the opinion section, because otherwise it's just kind of dry and people being like, tuition is too expensive, and it's like, yeah, obviously. But that was like part of it, I think, and I just sort of realized ultimately that I really enjoyed writing that stuff more than I wanted to write, what I was writing for like my political reporting classes. And then I went to Sundance as like a fellow. This was in 2016. And that was kind of like, that was the first time that I really realized, oh, I can like write about movies and like this can be a career, and that there's like an appetite for film criticism that I never really like understood before, I guess. And I met a lot of critics there that I'm still friends with. And so that I think was the time where I was like, oh, maybe I can like, maybe this is also a career path.
And so by the time you went to Vulture, you knew pretty much that this was what you wanted to talk about pop culture, and this was the direction you were going.
Yeah.
And then at Vulture, what was the culture like there? Like, what was the media environment like?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I am gonna like sound like I'm joking, but like I had such imposter syndrome for like the first truly like 2 years that I worked there. Just because I felt like I was working with like the most interesting, curious, funniest. Every pitch meeting I would be like so nervous. Like I felt like everyone I was working with was so talented and I was just like wanting to learn everything from them. And it was also like kind of my first real job, which was crazy. And so
And how did you get the job?
I finished college in like May 2016, and then I was an editorial assistant at Refinery 29 on the entertainment desk. I did that for like 5 months, I think. And then I think it was after a screening, my like one of my coworkers introduced me to like this guy who ended up being like who later became my next boss, and he was like the editor of Vulture. And then he like, yeah, we just kind of like got coffee, I guess, and then he was like, we're hiring.
work here.
Yeah, basically. And I was so nervous in the interview, and I remember being in the interview, and one of the editors was like, so like, what's your favorite movie of the year so far? And I was like, well, Moonlight. And I was like, womp womp. Like I was like, I bet I just didn't get the job just because of that, because it was like,
Yeah.
obviously everyone loves Moonlight.
Yeah.
But yeah, that made me so nervous. But at Vulture, I mean, it was like, I just felt like my whole like editorial sensibility was so in line with that website. I think that's honestly kind of true of Hung Up today. That like being very serious about stuff that's like pretty shallow and kind of stupid, and being very stupid about stuff that honestly maybe I should be more serious about. And I'd also grown up reading Vulture, New York Magazine, honestly, because I watched Gossip Girl and I read their Gossip Girl recaps, which were like they weren't recaps, they were like the reality index. And that's kind of like how I started reading about culture on the internet.
Yeah.
And so yeah, all of those things just sort of like kind of came to a head when I was at Vulture.
And how long did you stay there for? And also, by the way, take a drink
Yes.
whenever you want.
I was there for almost exactly 4 years.
Okay. And then from there, is that when you took the leap to Substack?
Yeah.
And what was going on at the time that made you decide you wanted to take a leap into like being fully independent? That it was kind of ahead of a lot of other people making that leap. It was early days.
I think it was like a combination of so many different things, really. Like first, I'd been at Vulture for 4 years. It was my only job. And I felt like, okay, it's like I'm like graduation day. Like I'm kind of like feeling a little restless. I wanted a promotion that they wouldn't give me. And
What was the promotion?
just like more senior writer. I think I was like staff writer. I wanted to be like something else. And then it was the pandemic too, and so I felt like if there's any time of like uncertainty, maybe now is the time to like try something different. And then also, I think honestly, what was maybe the biggest part in all of that is that I wanted to like write cover stories, and I felt like I'd always heard that like, oh, you can't ever get a promotion here unless you like leave and then come back, which some of my friends had done, and I was like, maybe this is like my version of that.
Yeah. I love that you're like, it's a time of uncertainty. I'm going to double down on uncertainty. Like I think that's really interesting.
Well,
that
I just
instead
kinda-
of like looking for more structure, like there's a lot of instability right now. I want these things to stay. You were like, no, we're just going to take all the risk right now.
I guess. I mean, I just kind of felt like that whole time felt so like, liminal space where
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't really know what my job is right now. Like, I write about movies, and like no one's really seeing movies in the same way. I remember like the day that I kind of decided that I was going to like leave my job and start a newsletter. It was like that same day that, I mean, in my head it's the same day, but maybe it was like the same week that I was offered a GQ cover. And so I was like, okay, this feels like the sign that like I can still do like magazine stuff, which I really, really love magazines. I really love writing for them. But like this feels like, okay, there's like the push to kind of get out of the nest. I was like, if the first year doesn't work, then I can always like, I know I can find like another job doing something else.
What was the GQ cover?
Zendaya.
Oh.
That was, I mean, one of like the coolest things I still have ever done, will ever do. Like, yeah.
Tell me about the experience of doing big celebrity profiles. Like, what does it feel like? What do you enjoy about it? What do you not like about it? What are some of the ones that have been the most surprising?
What do I not like about it?
Yes.
All the emails. You would be surprised.
The
There's
emails that you get
email-
after?
No,
or
no, no, no. Just
before?
the like all like the timing, the negotiation for like, there's just always like a 11th hour publicist email that's like, what about not this actually?
Oh, geez.
And so that's probably the worst part of it. But
A lot
it's
of
like
image management.
yeah, and that's kind of that's just part of the process.
Yeah.
But when I was at Vulture, that was also part of it. I really wanted to like write a profile, and I'd only written maybe one or two. And I sat down with my editor at the time, and she was like, if you want to do a profile, like do like a lot of red carpet interviewing. And so I did that. This was like before red carpets were like so influencery and like video forward.
Yeah.
And so I would just like show up at a carpet and like hope that Jennifer Lawrence would like let me ask her a question.
And what is the skill that you need to do that well? That kind of red carpet questioning.
Confidence. I think you need to really think quickly on your feet, be very persistent, have a good memory. And that was like, I think the best sort of like training that I could have gotten, because it is just like, you need to like kind of just hit the mark exactly. And
And you have what, like 3 minutes? Like how long do you have?
oh my
left?
God, you have like 3 questions. You have like 30 seconds. And then you are like kind of like waiting for them to come past you, and they'll walk past and they'll come back maybe. And it's like, it's a lot of like, hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
And a lot of just hoping that the right person responds to it in the exact right way at the right time. So yeah, so that was like a really good training ground, because a lot of profiling is like thinking in the moment. Like I have, 50 questions written down, and then I have them arranged in a certain way. But then in the moment, you're like following the thread of a conversation, and it's like, part of my mind is thinking about like, what have I not asked yet? What should be next? The other half is like, what is she saying? What am I saying? And so it's a lot of balancing, but in a way that I think is like really fun. I also think with profile writing, my ambition is like to write like the definitive something about someone, but that's like such a high expectation that you have to like divorce yourself from that when you start working on it, because there's no definitive anything about anyone, right? Like,
Yeah.
except for the Justin Bieber GQ cover from 2016. That one, yeah, that was pretty good.
How do you think about how much of yourself to bring into a celebrity profile like that?
I think none. I think hope that, I guess in an ideal world, you can like get a sense of my curiosities, but I don't think it's not about me. And I'm always like, whenever I read a profile that feels like too much about the writer, my eyes just kind of like, womp womp. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, right,
care
but like,
less.
right, but like, what did George Clooney have to say?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of part of it too, that I like that I can write about something that I feel deeply about, but also like not write about it from my own perspective. It's like
Yeah.
writing about it from someone else's in some ways. And then I think there's like a real romance when you're like preparing for one, where you read everything about this person, everything they've ever said, and then you go into the interview and it's like they are disappointing just because like you built them up in your head in some way. And then
Inevitably.
yeah, but then I really, really believe that like that disappointment should not show up in the piece, because that happens regardless.
Is the
And
disappointment because you have added something into the picture, or is the disappointment always kind of the same, that they're like more human or more flawed than you thought? Or is it?
I think that's just that they are human in general, because I think it's hard to like get to know someone like Julia Roberts and like be like, oh my God, wait, she's like real. Like she's like a real person. And then I think just like, I don't know, it's honestly something like when you go out on a date with someone, it's like, oh, you are like a little bit of air has just like left
Yeah.
a little bit. Because I'm like, oh,
Interesting.
now you're like real in front of me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that you can't let that impact the final piece, because that's like not fair to either of you or to the reader. And I think there's a real moment of like, you have to become like very dispassionate whenever you're like looking at the transcript, whenever you're looking at like everything you have. It's almost like a breakup in some ways, because you really have to like break up with your idea of someone and actually just like tell the story that like as it happened.
So the breakup happens a little bit when you're there because you have this disappointment moment, a little
I
of
mean, it's calling
humanity.
it disappointment, I think sounds like maybe
harsh.
Yeah, it sounds too harsh. It's just like, oh, it's like a different
Something
like,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because you know when someone exists on a page for so long and it's like, I'm thinking about like all the ways this can go right, all the ways it can go
Yeah.
wrong. And then it happens and it's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, it's this.
Yeah, okay, we're just two people talking.
But a lot of your writing in Hung Up is also weaves a lot of your personal experience and life
Yeah.
and relationship into it. Do you think those are two different zones and you're like, okay, when the celebrity profile, I need to remove myself more? Or what's the internal kind of thermometer about when you allow your personal life into your writing more?
I mean, the newsletter is written by me. At first, when I first started the newsletter, I thought like, oh, I want to like have like my friends like contribute and all of this stuff. And then pretty quickly I was like, no, this is mine.
Just you.
I mean, that sounds, but I'm just such a perfectionist and I'm such a like, I have to like have my eyes on every single thing that I really have grown to love that about the newsletter, that it really is like, I'm a star student, star employee, but a terrible boss. And it's like, I'm the only person who's like deciding everything, which is nice. But I think for profile writing, the note that I always get back after my first draft is like, okay, now let's like make it voicier. Like let's bring more of you into it. Like we want to hear like what Hunter experiences of this person. In my head, I want to make sure that the interview, that like all the work is present, and then I can like add, you know, like whatever dumb thing that I thought that day. That stuff I can, you know, do anytime.
Yeah.
But like the real experience of like, did I ask the right questions? Was I like an empathetic and like curious listener? Did I like come into this with an open mind? Like all of those things are just so high pressure for you in the moment of interviewing
Yeah.
someone that I'm not so concerned with like how I'm coming across or like what I'm, how I'm gonna sound when someone reads this.
I love the idea of stripping yourself out and then allowing yourself back in a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah,
That's
that is sort of what it's
It
like.
seems like harder to go the other way.
Exactly. And
yeah.
that's kind of my biggest fear with stuff like that because
Yeah.
like I definitely read profiles before where it's like, so I know actually a lot about this person and nothing about that person, like nothing about the subject. And I don't like that. I just don't like reading it. I think it's like kind of sort of simplistic. I don't know. It just doesn't do
I
anything
think
for
like
me.
we have a radar for when ego gets in the mix.
Yeah.
And it's off-putting
Yeah,
often. Like
yeah.
you don't need it yet. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I read
they
so
may
many-
not even know. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
And some people should. No. But I've read so many things where I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so what did they say? Like
Yeah.
we know what you think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I would hate if someone read a profile I wrote and felt that way.
yeah. Okay, you need to catch up to me.
Yes, sorry.
No, I'm not gonna, not to pressure you into drinking, but
You said
wanna
gun
make
to your
sure
head,
you-
drink more.
all right. So the name of your newsletter, Hung Up. I love this idea, and you've talked about this, that it's about like kind of pursuing obsession, like just letting yourself pursue these obsessions. But I wondered if one, like, what is behind the title of the newsletter? And number two, like, maybe you can talk about it in the context of how pop culture is actually quite powerful.
Yeah. To your first question, the newsletter title came from the Madonna song, Hung Up, which I purchased twice on iTunes because I loved it so much and forgot that I bought it before. That was part of it. I still have the list of like kind of names that I was thinking of. I liked Hung Up a lot. I liked Hang Ups a lot, but Hang Ups kind of did have like a note of guilt. And I don't really
Yeah.
believe in guilty pleasures. I think that
Yeah.
anything that you really like,
Is a pleasure. full
yeah, like
stop.
why would you feel guilty about that?
I love that.
Granted, I write about Bennifer every single day of my life, so
Yeah.
I don't feel any guilt.
Yeah.
And then another one on the list that I really loved was like it was close personal, because I had this joke on Twitter for a long time that I was Annette Benning's close personal friend because I'd interviewed her once. And I kind of liked that. I liked the intimacy of that. But I wanted, my first idea for the newsletters, I wanted to feel like, what is the thing that you like, it feels like a nighttime phone call with your friend where you're just like, oh my God, you won't believe what I saw. You won't believe what happened to me today. And
That intimacy.
yeah, and I thought that was like kind of the most important part. And Hung Up also, yeah, it spoke to like this idea of like pop culture and how there's no real monoculture, how we're all like siloed off into like, you know, I can be talking about Club Chalamet one day and talking about SZA the next day. I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of always, I think, making a case for why pop culture matters. But at the end of the day, it's like if I'm going to a party tonight, what am I talking about other than like, can you believe Timothée Chalamet didn't win an Oscar? Like, can you believe that like the ballet opera thing has like gone on this long? Like that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're not talking so much about like politics in a certain way. I do think that like Trump has become like the only monoculture that exists right now.
Interesting.
And so the idea of like accessing something that feels larger than everything else, but still feels like very specific to
Yeah.
like, you know, who you're talking to, what they feel, what you feel is like, yeah, I don't know. It's like just interesting to me in some way.
Yeah. You said a little bit ago that you're always making the case for pop culture. What is the case for pop culture? What is that in your mind?
That it's fun and that that's something for us to talk about. And I guess I make a case for why it's worth talking about and not necessarily that it's like so serious. Because those in my head are very different. I'm not saying that like who Kaya Gerber is dating or like what's happening between Kylie and Timmy is like as important as like abortion rights, immigration, tariffs, any of that. But I do think that the way that we work out bigger ideas about how we feel about ourselves, about the world, about politics, about power, really does play out in a pop culture sense. I mean, I think this, award season definitely shows that in like a very tactile way. But at the same time, like we're thinking about like the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, like that is a story about like power and control and domestic violence, and a lot of these women have been abused or like abuse has shown up in their lives in some way. And that show is how we can talk about that in a more casual, maybe like slightly de-escalated setting. And I think that, just in my own life, I think I've worked out a lot of things about how I feel about differences and, inclusivity and individuality based on like what I've seen in movies and books and TV. Even like the book Strangers right now, that's like the divorce memoir. I think even that is like starting an interesting conversation about like, yes, this woman had a horrible divorce. Yes, she's also very wealthy, but like her divorce sounded excruciating. Like those two things like don't cancel each other out.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, I don't think we could have a conversation about that in the same breath.
Yeah. So it allows us to have these like serious conversations in a much lighter way, and that actually gives you access to something different as a different way of talking about it.
Yeah.
You've described yourself as having, I think you said it was a personality flaw, insane tunnel vision.
Oh.
That you can write, what was it you wrote, over a dozen pieces about A Star is Born, or like that, when you get one of these obsessions, you can really, really follow it.
Yeah.
Why do you think that works for you and your audience? Like what is the thing that your audience is getting out of that you also want to serve up?
I think we've just both had the same disease.
And that disease is?
Just really being insatiable. I think that's it. I think part of it is like growing up as an only child where I just had to like entertain myself a lot. And so I maybe will spend more time with something than maybe other people did. Yeah. The tunnel vision thing really came from like one of my old editors who was like, you have really bad tunnel vision. And I was like,
Was it a compliment or an insult?
No, it was an insult. She meant it.
And now it's followed you around.
Yeah, but then I was like, oh yeah, I totally do.
Yeah.
In every part of my life.
What's the most embarrassing obsession that you've ever had tunnel vision about?
Charlie Puth. I went through a big Charlie Puth phase. Well, he really was the pop prince. Like he should have been Justin Bieber's like, kind of next generation. And then there's one time that I went to see him. I profiled him for New York Mag, and that was a lot of fun. And then I went to see him in concert at Radio City, and I was singing along to every single song and did not mute my camera. And so everyone heard me singing along, and one of my friends still talks about it to this day. So yeah, that was pretty embarrassing. It was embarrassing because like of the way I behaved.
Do you still have that? Can we use that as bonus footage?
No, it was, oh gosh. But I really do think that Voice Notes was an incredible album.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the business itself. So you have subscription revenue as your I think probably your core, but you also have a podcast. You do TV writing, and you still do some freelance for legacy media too, and you do some brand stuff. So how do you think about like the whole mixed revenue stream and the business of Hung Up? Like, where do you want to grow? What's your core? Where are you amplifying? How do you think about that whole?
I mean, the newsletter is like my job. Everything else feels like something fun, something that I feel curious about, something that feels like maybe it could grow the newsletter in some way or like something like that. But I really, and this is like not, I think like a fun way to talk about it, I guess, but I do feel very like seriously that people who read the newsletter are like customers, and I am fulfilling my contract with them to like give them 2 posts a week or whatever. Because I think that's like, I don't know, it's really, I just think it's like the most like disrespectful thing in the world to be like, okay, maybe it'll come out, maybe it won't. Like that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
And I really, feel strongly that like they are my first priority, and that like before I owe anyone else work, I owe them work, like the readers. And then otherwise it's like, the brand stuff is just kind of fun. Like sometimes it's like working a different muscle, like I don't know, edit a TikTok and like want to kill myself because my thumbs are too big, my nails are too long to open CapCut. And then the podcast is, I think, started as like I just want to like have something with my best friend, and that was a lot of fun. And then in some ways it did grow to the newsletter. In some ways it all kind of feels like an Ouroboros a little bit, where I'm like talking about the same thing again and again. But then there are people who read the newsletter but don't listen to the podcast, and vice versa. And like that's also interesting to me in some ways. And then the TV stuff is like maybe my like dream. But if I could like write my own series tomorrow, I would still like keep the newsletter because I just really do like writing it. And because in the middle of the night, I'm like, I love a girl's emotional support and a wrist tattoo. And I'm like, I need a place to say that. Like, so yeah.
How about your writing process? What's it like? You've mentioned a number of times, like you wake up and you just have to write about something. Is that what it actually looks like? The
Yeah,
process?
basically. Basically, I have like a note on my phone of like ideas that I think about when I wake up or when I go to sleep or
Like, what's your day? Do you have a
day to day. I mean, I'm like quite strict about the scheduling. I have to like be up, walk my dog, showered, and like be at the desk by like 9:30 at the latest. And then I'll like have a little lunch break. And then in the afternoon, when I can't write anymore in the afternoon, then I'll watch something. And then like a screener, like go see a movie or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I have like a big like burst of energy about writing. I feel very creative around like 6 and 7, 8 p.m. And then I'll like, if I'm not like doing something or like out somewhere, then I'll like move locations at the coffee table and like write there.
So you're also doing a podcast, a companion podcast for the Pit Show, which by the way I also love.
Thank you.
And that seems like a slightly different muscle set for you. Like, what is different about that? What are you learning while you go doing that different kind of that new kind of companion podcast?
Yeah, it's I think something that I like about the newsletter that I had not really considered in the same way before is that when I write something, everyone knows it's coming from Hunter, who is a Black woman, who's 31, who lives in Brooklyn, who has a dog that's a schnoodle, but she won't say that. She'll say that Schnauzer Poodle mix because like schnoodle sounds insane. And when I was like writing for Vulture, writing for a magazine, it's like you don't always have that context of like who I am, or like there'd be a lot of times where I'd say something about like make a joke about SZA or something, and someone would be like, oh my God, this white man is like talking down to this Black woman. It's like, no, I'm Hunter. Like it plays differently, you hear it differently. And with the Pit podcast, it's like the first time in a while that I've felt some of that where it's like, okay, people who listen to this or like engage with this don't know anything else about me. They're just listening or watching. And it's like a different level of like, I am myself, but I'm also like kind of like on my best behavior because like people might not get every one of my jokes. So yeah, so it's like something, it's kind of a different experience.
It sounds a little bit more being like slightly on a stage than being in the living room hanging out with your hung up crew.
Oh, totally, totally,
Yeah.
totally. Like in the Pit podcast, I'm like talking about character and motivations and whatever. But like in the hung up chat, I'm like redacted.
Yeah.
It's a bit different. We're talking about Dr. Abbott in a different way. No. And also too, it's like kind of what we were talking about earlier, like profile writing. It's like the star of the Pit podcast is the Pit.
Right.
And so I kind of feel like whatever I'm saying about like how I feel about this or like how I show up at the doctor's office, it's like that doesn't really matter to me because, and I don't think it matters to like the listeners either. Like they just really want a space to talk about the Pit.
You were actually one of the first people on Substack to use the chat threads in the way, you're still my favorite example, of using it to like totally invigorate your community and off the charts participation. You organize it really interestingly around like topic threads. And I'm wondering what gave you that signal that you knew your community wanted to talk to each other like that. Like, how did you know that was a thing they wanted?
With the new sort of community building just like feels so lame to me to say. It feels very like RA at like new student orientation or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm really proud that like people have met friends from hung up events, from being in the chat, being in the comment section together. And like that to me is cool. And I think, especially at a time now when it's like everyone feels disconnected, sort of, lonely, and it's nice to be like, okay, we can become friends in this one weird internet space, and it's like doesn't have anything to do with like weird stand behavior, like
Yeah.
it's like we're all people who like go outside, like
Yeah.
that's fun.
What is the most magical moment you've ever felt with your readers, with your community?
This is like kind of this actually happened like, I mean, this was like the most magical, but it really meant a lot to me. I was home for a funeral. I was very close to my great aunt and she passed away, and I was like out to dinner with my mom, and we were kind of like, talking about like auntie and just like family stuff, whatever. And this woman comes up and she's like, oh my gosh, are you Hunter? I read your newsletter. I read it for years. I love it so much. And it was like so cool to be like with my mom when that happened. And my mom is like we're having this like bigger conversation about like life and like all of this stuff. And I just felt like that was like really special of her to be part of. And that was really nice.
How about, so you're kind of like learning how to do this as you go. Like you're in this wave of people doing independent media like this. You were kind of early on in that. You're alone in it. Do you have a mentor, or like how do you think about somebody entering this journey now? Like what does the career path look like for them? And do you have mentors?
My mentors are like all just writers, like people who have written like newsletters, like, but also like just people who like written in TV, like people who've written for magazines. I think those are the people, because I'm always like thinking about like how can I be like a better writer? How can I I don't know, capture something more specific maybe. And I'm not so much thinking about like how can I grow the business, because I don't know, that's just like not my ambition, I think.
It actually seems like a really healthy way to grow the business, to just think about what you're best at.
No,
and
I mean,
focus on that.
I turned down a lot of stuff that just like doesn't feel right to me, and not because like, not out of like sometimes I have like a moral judgment, but mostly just because like I don't want to do stuff that that doesn't feel like it's working, and I think people can tell, and I don't ever want it. This is actually what really offended me. Someone asked me, I had watched this show Neighbors on HBO that I thought was like brilliant, and I hadn't seen anyone really talking about it, and I just wrote this like whatever post on Notes, and I posted on like Twitter too. And someone was like, DM me and was like, was that Spawn? And I was like, no. Like, I would never pretend to like something that I don't like. And it's not for HBO, not for anything. Like to me is like my whole thing is that that we're talking about something.
Yeah.
And that I'm telling you what I really think.
Yeah.
Not like I would pretend that something that's bad is like good just to like, I don't know, get a couple extra dollars. Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah, I love that. I'm thinking about how you said earlier, this is all sort of about like a contract between you and your audience.
Yeah.
And that like, that's something that you would never break. in
Yeah,
that
no, I
contract.
mean, it's like not a sexy way to think about it, but like that's really how I feel. And maybe it's just like the Midwesterner in me where I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, I actually owe you something, and I don't want you to feel like I've taken advantage of you in some way by not delivering.
Who are your writer icons of over all time?
Oh, wow. Okay. It's like, where to begin? Well, Toni Morrison, on a sentence level, Toni Morrison is like absolutely like so beautiful and also so like specific. It's like, it's honestly like she's like speaking like a better English because her sentences are just so like touching in a way that I'm like, wait, you're not speaking the rest of the like we all have the same amount of words and you're just like making magic with them. And that's really crazy. Nora Ephron because I had always really, dream was to like start in media and journalism and then like start writing scripts. But then also that, especially now, it's like it's hard to write a really good romantic comedy that feels like it has stakes and drama and that they're two complete people who find each other in like a special way that doesn't feel like too special.
Yeah, and where you really care.
Yeah,
That's the
where you
highest
really
bar.
care and where
Yeah.
it's like the way that like when Harry Met Sally, I mean, I love Heartburn even, incredible movie about eating in bed. But the way that everyone feels flawed, but also like relatable in some way, like perfect in some way, that's really, I think, lovely. Same goes for Nicole Holofcener, but there's also a moment, I think there's like a Nicole Holofcener thing where it's like, she's like showing the ugliest part of someone's entire personality, and that is what makes them like the most enjoyable. Like I don't know if there's a movie that she did called Friends with Money, and it's like every single person here is like absolutely rancid in some way, and yet it completely works because you're like, yes, I am that person a lot of the time, more than I want to admit. And it's all about women's friendships too. Greta Gerwig because I just loved Lady Bird so much. I thought it was so special and like, I could go on and on. But yeah,
That's amazing.
I was gonna meet her once, and I was too nervous. I literally was like, I can't do it. My friend was like, I'll introduce you. I was like, no, I can't. I'm sorry. I'm like too nervous. And he's like, well, if you have to have something to say. And I was like, okay. And like a week later, I was like, oh fuck, I should have been like, I wrote an essay for the Lady Bird screenplay book for A24. That would have been a perfect sentence. And yet I was too nervous at the moment.
Or maybe you didn't want that thing that
Yeah,
happens
maybe,
when you actually meet the
maybe,
real person.
maybe.
Maybe you just wanted to keep her in that place.
Could be true.
Yeah. What is the thing that you would make creatively if you could wave a magic wand and you haven't yet?
Oh, a movie. Absolutely. And I have the idea for it too. It's a romantic comedy. It's kind of like Deliver Us from Eva, like Gabrielle Union, LL Cool J movie, meets like Rachel getting married.
Oh.
The Anne Hathaway movie.
Have you pitched it?
Well, I pitched it once, but I'm like still, it's in the process of being pitched. Yeah.
Oh, exciting.
I know, it feels so weird, but I'm like, we'll see.
Yeah, but I can kind of see how that fits exactly what you're talking about in terms of how to expand your business. It's not like build out a giant newsroom with a bunch of people. It's like
Yeah.
continue to do your artistic vision in bigger and bigger ways.
Yeah.
Where you get to have the like auteur, the fingerprint on all of it.
Yeah.
It seems like a very natural
Yeah.
evolution.
I think in some ways, like the things I'm interested like creatively in that way are also things that I'm interested creatively in like the newsletter space, where it's like I like stories about women, stories about control freaks, stories about drama, infighting, gossip, all of that. I think kind of comes to a head in this idea that I have.
That's really cool. Thank you so much. This was a delicious drink.
Okay,
by the
I'm glad
way.
that you liked
Yes,
it.
Yeah.
It's just it gets right.
Yeah,
it's just like no frills.
Perfect amount.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah. Mean
Okay,
girl
great.
drink. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is so fun.